What's up, everybody? Welcome to another edition of BookTube. I'm your host, Mr. Ahamad. Thank you so much for coming back to my classroom. It is always a pleasure to have you here listening to me talk about books. Now, today I want to get into something that I simply love, and I think a lot of it is because of how it was written. It was because of the characters. It was its tone. It's just so masterful in how it touches your heart. That book is Other Words for Home by Jasmine Warga. Oh, this book is it has such a big heart, and I love that so much about it. Now, I said something about how it was written, right? And that's because the book is actually written in verse. So it has a very lyrical feel to it. And Warga does not mince words. So the main character, Jude, she's from Syria, she's Muslim, and she loves her family and she loves where she lives. But revolutions, protests, it grew very dangerous, and her and her mom and soon to be born sibling all had to go to the US to live with a relative, and she had to leave home and go to the United States. I think she's like in the Midwest or something like that, and she lives in a suburb, predominantly white, and she was so talkative back home in Syria. She loved movies, she loved music, and she wanted to act. But when she got to the United States, essentially what happened was that she was stripped of the vocabulary that she could use to do and say all those things. And this book is about her journey of learning that home could be in multiple places, and learning that language isn't really something that could limit her, because if she has the drive, if she has the will, the motivation, the courage, then she can do anything. And she does. Oh, it's such a beautiful book. I love it so much. It's so wonderful. Whenever I do a poem or a collection of poetry or something written in verse, because it's so short, I like to read excerpts. And this is no different. Here's something that I really enjoyed that she said. So Jude says, after meeting a couple of students and being pointed at and made fun of and stuff like that, but I have lived a life that people don't quite understand, in a place that lots of people, I am learning, don't understand at all. And that was just so moving, because being from a different place, a different culture, and loving it, and then moving somewhere else where that place and that culture are vilified because that's all they see. And for a kid to understand that, that's just amazing. And what this just brings me to is that I just feel like we can never forget how powerful images are, because they can tell a story so much more quickly without context. And you are just vulnerable to what's being fed to you if you're not doing additional research. We are living in dangerous times, man. And like I have to say, like being in New York City during 9/11, because that's where I was born and raised, and seeing how the city just turned on anyone who was Muslim or people they thought were Muslim. For example, my family, I'm Mr. Ahamad, so my family's name is Ahamad, and people were they were crazy, man. So I can only imagine what it was like for like a girl or like a woman who wore a hijab during that time. And this book covers that in so few words, yet those words have the most impact possible. Woof! It's so good. Here's another one. Check this out. Jude says, just me and my big mouth, speaking, being heard. And what I love so much about that one is that, as a young woman, as a young girl actually, growing up in Syria in a Muslim family, it says in the book that her father would tell her to be quiet all the time, or that she was singing too much or being too loud or something like that. And for her to be in a space where now she can be heard, it's like, whoa, like I can be me in a different capacity and create a different identity, using these words, having this expression, while also paying respect and homage to where it was that she's from by saying those things and still wearing a hijab. It gets a lot more complicated than that, and it's much more beautiful than what I'm explaining. I can't quite do it justice, but it's just fantastically written, and the feelings are all there, and there's this rhythm that ebbs and flows with Jude's feelings, and it's beautiful. I mean, I just gushed about this book for about 5 or 6 minutes, and there's no way that I cannot recommend this. It's a very quick read. It's very emotional. The concepts in it, like while the words may be small and while the poetry may be easy to read, the concepts are very high level. To be able to put yourself in someone else's shoes, to understand what it's like to be away from home and have to make a new home while being condemned and pushed away or not being accepted. Those are all things that everyone right now could learn, relearn, review, even share. Most importantly, share, actually. So, such a beautiful book. And to be paired, like say if you wanted a teacher or something like that, or if you wanted a close story to follow it, A Very Large Expanse of Sea by Tahir Mafi. Put these two books back to back, you'll learn a lot about what it's like to be classified as othered in a country that is built on diversity and is supposed to accept that, but clearly doesn't. So sorry if I got a little too political in this, but let's be real. Is there anything more political than telling a story? With that said, other words for home, definitely a story worth sharing. Go out, read it, enjoy it, share it.